Renaissance line through Ruud. Right now it's available in 3 through 6 ton and then 7.5 to 12.5 ton. And then later this year, we'll be going all the way up through 25 ton into 30 ton, hopefully by the end of this year. So we're going to start with this side of the unit. This is the filter access door here. All you need is a screwdriver. It's got quarter turn posts here. And see, you can even do it one-handed. All right, so when we remove this panel, what you're gonna see in here, okay, you've got 2-inch filters in here, and you have this rack available here, where with the 2-inch filters, you simply move this rack out to here, and now these will accommodate 4-inch filters. And to change those filters out is as simple as moving this up to here, and now you've got access to change these out, okay? Put that back down in here. This connection over here is if you're going to add an economizer to the system. One thing you want to be aware of, if you're going to unplug this and plug in to the economizer, you should keep this plugged, because if you ever want to disable the economizer and run the unit without the economizer, you'll need to put that plug back on in order for the system to operate. Okay. One of the other things I want to point out is when you're looking at the panels, you'll notice that you have the insulation here, but all the panels will have a rolled edge. Okay, it's a very heavy gauge metal. It's got a rolled edge, not only for sturdiness, but also to eliminate sharp edges on each of the panels. Okay, now from here, we're going to move around to this side panel over here. Okay, now one of the really cool features on this unit is the industry first drain pan. Okay, so this is your drain pan down here for the evaporator coil. You've got 2 outlets here. This first outlet down here is where you're going to connect your P-trap. So it's important to note that you've got instructions that are up here on the depth of the P-trap. If you come out of this here and just put in a standard P-trap that you buy off the shelf, it's not going to drain properly. You want at least 3 inches from here down to where the drain's going to be. And then you want another 3 inches for your actual trap. Okay. So this pipe coming out of the unit and go down is going to be a minimum of 6 inches. And then you want to add an inch for every inch of static pressure that you have. So if you are operating this on 1.5 inches of static, you're going to need a 7.5 inch deep trap. Okay. At least 3 inches down to the trap, and then a trap that's 4.5 inches. Okay, and again, that's all right here. Now, what this also allows you to do is, instead of having a side drain, you can bring a PVC pipe out here and put a street elbow into a regular PVC elbow, go back into this fitting here, and now you've just looped that drain back into here, and you can come out the bottom of the unit with a bottom drain out of the unit. Okay, and I'll show you a little bit better how that works. But the really cool feature about this is it's a removable drain pan. So we remove these 4 screws. All right, looks like the rain's stopping, so hopefully you can hear me a little bit better. We remove these 4 screws, and even with that connected, your drain pan slides completely out. Okay, so you can slide your drain pan out, clean the drain pan, slide it back in. This is what I was saying here. The pipe will come around, connect in, okay, to do the down drain. One of the other features that I wanted to point out is, if you look in here, there's a little spade connector right here. That's a built-in float switch. So on this unit here, right here, when that pan slides in, this is sitting down right at the pan. So if water comes up and touches that, it activates the float switch and will shut the unit down. So you don't need a third-party float switch for this unit. Okay. All right, let's move on. Hopefully you can hear me better now. The rain has stopped.
Yes, we can. We can hear you well.
Good. All right. We're moving on to this side of the unit over here. This is your blower compartment. This is where you're going to have your electric heat. These units are available as gas electric units. So we'll show you where the gas would be, where this is a gas unit. This happens to be a straight pull unit we're looking at here. So let me go ahead and remove some of these panels. Other nice thing is all the screws I'm removing, except the ones for the drain pan, but all the screws I'm going to be removing at this point are all the same size screws. So you don't have to worry about mixing them up from panel to panel. Three screws for your blower compartment. Again, it's a rolled edge. Insulation is glued in as well as packed in. Okay. When we remove that panel, now we've got access to our blower section. This wire you're looking at here is the wire that runs to our float switch. Okay. This is your blower assembly here. Easy access to work on the blower assembly. What makes it even better. Yeah, before I do that, let me back up a second. There's some mounting holes that are on the blower assembly here for some accessories. So you can order some of these units with variable frequency drives. So there's an actual bracket that mounts here where you mount the variable frequency drive. You would unplug the motor, plug it into the drive, route your wires through here into the electrical panel to hook up your variable frequency drive. You also have an access port here there where you can screw in a help me out, sampling tube for a smoke detector. There's mounting holes over here where the factory would mount a smoke detector if you order this with factory mounted smoke detector. Up in here, there's a couple little plugs. This plug right here is to attach the smoke detector to the circuit control board. And then this little plug here is for a sensor, an enthalpy sensor, if you're using the economizer. Okay. All right, so on the blower, we've got three more screws here. And a little bit of muscle here. And your blower assembly slides completely out. You can unplug it here, remove the straps that are attached from around the blower, and you can take the blower assembly completely out. Okay. Again, makes it much easier to work on, to do anything you need to do, give you really good access to the microchannel coil in the back. And yes, we use microchannel coil on both the condenser and the evaporator. Okay. I'm not going to slide this blower all the way out because it is definitely a two-man job, in my opinion, to get it back in, and the bigger you get on these units. So I'm going to cheat on that aspect of it and not go all the way. I will tell you, when you're sliding this out, be careful of this wire. Make sure you don't snag it with the blower, okay, and hit it there. Now we're going to move on down. We're going to remove this panel. This is where you would access your electric heat strip. Pull that panel out of there. Set this over here. Okay, so here's a good view of the cutout of the system. Okay, so your electric heat strip slides in here, really easy to mount. You already got your plug here. You want to just kind of move the plug out of the way. You've got two screw holes here. There's two screws that come with the heat kit. You start the screws, don't put them all the way in, just start the screws. And then you simply slide the heat kit in there and you lift it up and put it on those two screws. And you'll screw it in there, there, and there, and your heat kit's mounted. plug it in and you're done. Okay. Over here, you'll see this is where you've got this. These come configured for bottom supply and return. But the two panels that are there, you would simply remove the panels off the side. If you wanted to do a side discharge, supply and return, and you take those same panels, they fit right over the top of that and mount down in here. One of the things that they've done with these new units is they've changed it to match the footprint of what they'll say is the most common industry standard. What I'm telling you, it's pretty much matched up to your carrier footprint. So your carrier, your Bryant, your ICP products that are commercial out there, that's one of the most common footprints in the industry. So they've gone to match that. So you won't need a curb adapter if you're adapting to any of that. If you go to myruud.com and you go to the commercial section, there's a cross-reference chart listing all the different models that this unit will match up to. And that's the same for all of these units. Bobby, can you kind of swing over here a little bit? Yeah, right here, there's a cutout in the insulation for a knockout. And that knockout's for the single point wiring kit, which we're going to do an install of real quick, just to kind of show you how that goes in there. But you simply pull this insulation away and you'll get a better view of the knockout on the other side. But there's a ring that comes with a single point wiring kit. So you can mount that in there so you can feed wires through to feed your heat strip. And then you'll only need one source of power to run the unit and the heat strip. Okay. So moving right along. First, we're going to remove the electrical panel. Now, what's nice about the electrical panel is it gives you access to all of the electrical in here so you can troubleshoot the system, the electrical on the system without exposing the condenser section on that. Okay, again, rolled edges on the panel, no sharp edges. Okay, in here, you have the all-important installation instructions. Again, these are not knee pads. These are installation instructions. Please, please, please go through those. Okay. When you're looking into the electrical panel here, all the units come with this control board that has a dual 7-segment LED readout on it for your troubleshooting codes. Of course, your transformer. If you were to do the variable frequency drive or the smoke detectors, there are ports on here that you can attach those to. Okay. And then, of course, if you're doing the variable frequency drive, you'll actually end up eliminating this contactor, wiring right into here. There's a plug that will run to the control board, so the control board will control the variable frequency drive on the motor. Okay. Over here, this is where you have, if you want to connect to a building automation system, BACnet, LawnWorks, something along that lines, we can provide you with a board that'll go in here that allow you to connect to a building automation system, and that would mount right in here. Okay. While we're over here, you'll see that we have several connectors in here that allow you to troubleshoot the high and low pressure switches by just unclipping the switches and checking them here. There's the one for the low pressure. That's the one for the high pressure. You got fan motor connections that you can do the same with. So it makes it easier to troubleshoot the electrical on those units. All right, so let's pull off this next panel. Okay. Let's see. What am I doing? This is the screw. Okay. So, as you can see, plenty of room to work on this system. I mean, it's just amazing. They've given you all the room you need to do any work on the compressor. You've got your high pressure switch, your low pressure switch. All of these units come with a high and low pressure switch. Okay. All of the units come with a high and low pressure switch. Copeland scroll compressors, microchannel coils. This over here, you can swing that over here, Bobby. Jump in front of here. This cover panel you're looking at here is if this were a gas pack, that's where your gas assembly would slide into. Okay. This is the knockout that we showed you from the other side. All right. We'll do a little quick demo of the single point wiring kit. Okay. So this is the single point wiring kit. You see it's got your 3 connectors here that you would run through that hole, through there and into there. This bag comes with it, comes with the screws. Here's your coupling to go through the wall so you don't chafe the wires as you go through the wall. It's a pretty simple installation. You're going to want to remove this top panel. And that's a hinge door access you have there. And you're going to want to flip this up like this and remove this side panel. And yes, in case anybody's asking, the screws that go to the single point wiring kit are slightly different than the screws for the unit. So if you're doing that, you want to keep those screws separate from the screws for the unit. Okay. So now you've got access to the single point wiring kit. When you look at it, you'll see there's a groove cut in it right here. Okay. That groove lines up with this trim here. So you do not remove this panel when you're putting that in. Okay. This hole is going to line up with that hole. You simply slide it in here. Okay. Wires out of the way. Slide that in here. Line up your 2 holes here. Screw it in there. Screw it in here. Run your wires through here. And then these wires would come up through here and into your contactor. Okay. And these wires are labeled 1L1, 1L2, and 1L3. So you'll know to connect them to L1, L2, and L3. Okay. And that's the mounting of your wiring kit. Put your doors back on and you're done. Okay. Nicole, are there any questions up to this point?
No questions so far.
Okay. And you can still hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Great. All right. Now we're going to move over to this side of the unit. Now, of course, I haven't removed the covering. This is protective covering that comes shipping material with the unit. You just simply undo those and this pulls off. I'm not going to do that today only because it's meant to come off. It's not meant to put back on. Okay. So it's not any fun to try to put that back on. Okay. But you just undo this rail here. There's another one over on that side and you can pull this away. You can order hail guards for these. It's a nice louver kit. One here, one for there. Makes it really nice. You have your line voltage that would come in here, would run across here and go into your single point wiring kit. You have on the actual panel, there's a cutout for an electrical disconnect if you wanted to mount one on that panel. A lot of guys will mount them over here. This is a knockout for a convenience outlet, either wired or non-wired convenience outlet. That's up to you. This down here, this is your high and low pressure ports. Okay, so it's an external high and low pressure ports with a hinge door, removable. Okay, this will get you past most of your codes that tell you you have to have a lockable door on your service valves. Okay, And I also wanted to point out that these are CoreMax fittings. They're not your standard service valve fittings, your standard access fittings with pore depressors. These are CoreMax fittings. So you will need to use a CoreMax tool if you ever need to replace those. Okay. So this is your 24-volt wiring knockout. And that's about it. Let me look at my cheat sheet here and see if I've forgotten anything. And then we're going to move on to some of the math. So, the 1-inch drip lip that you have around here to help keep water from draining into the system. Your hinged access door, your electrical divider plate, again, that's separate so that you can access the electric without compromising the airflow of the system. On the back of the panel that came off of here, you've got your electrical diagrams, of course, and your charging chart. And there's QR codes that you can scan to bring up information on the unit as well. All of your product data sheets, your installation manuals. If you ever get out on one of these units and you don't, this has been lost, you can scan the QR code to pull all that information up. Like I said, easily accessible, large access panel, your external gauge ports, color-coded wiring, glued insulation. You have a full perimeter base rail, okay? And the full perimeter base rail, you can access it with forks from that side, and that side. So you can access it from 3 different sides with the forklift. Large compressor coil, removable fan assembly. So yeah, that's about it on the actual unit. Are there any questions on the actual unit itself?
Hey, Todd.
Yes.
Tim is saying, can you talk about the bottom row on the condenser coil?
Yeah. Okay. So, one of the reasons they've gone to the microchannel coil, I'm using my camera, not yours, sorry, is first of all, it's nice that you only have 2 connections. Okay. So you basically have your hot gas line going into the condenser coil and then the liquid line coming back out and headed up to the evaporator coil. So those are your only 2 connections. That's one thing. But because sometimes with forklifting these units, you can get some damage to the bottom row of this coil. So the bottom row of that coil is inactive. Okay, that's just a dummy row on the bottom of these coils. So if you come across that where that bottom row is dented a little bit through shipping or through forklift or through crane lifting it up on a roof, you don't really have to worry about it. It's not an active part of the coil.
And then also somebody wants to talk to you about the fresh air assembly.
Okay. So your manual outside air damper, can you swing over here? Your manual outside air damper and your economizer will mount over here on this side of the unit. I didn't bring one to mount. And if you're doing, that's if you're doing downflow, if you're doing side discharge, there's also one available when you're coming out of here that can mount on the side of the ductwork coming out of here. Okay. So you can, there's side mount here, there's horizontal mount, there's a few different ones that you can get for the damper. And again, if it's an economizer or a motorized damper, you'll access it through here, through that wiring there. Otherwise, just tuck that wire out of the way.
Okay, next question. Can you get these units with factory mounted GFCI receptacles?
I don't know. I'll have to find out. I know that you can get them mounted with a wired or non-wired convenience outlet. Whether or not that's going to be a ground fault protected outlet, I don't know. Tim, do you know that?
Unfortunately, I do not. I've never had
All
to
right.
order.
Nicole, if you'll write, Tony's jumping in. Oh no. Nicole, if you'll write that down, we'll find out on that. Okay.
Tony piped in and said electrical is done in the field. They do not.
Okay. I'll still check on that outlet. I think Tony's talking about something different, but I'm assuming you're asking if the the unwired convenience outlet that mounts on the side of the unit is a GFI outlet, and that's what I'll find out. I'm not sure that it is, but I will find out. All right, I think now we're going to move over to the board and give you all the bad news. All right. If I put that there, can you hear me okay still?
Yeah, you're fine.
All right, good. All right, so what we got coming up in the year, this is where we're going to get into the new efficiency requirements that are coming out along with the 179 tax code information. So starting with the efficiencies that are coming out. And Tony, please jump in if I make any mistakes on this, because there's a lot of numbers being thrown around, a lot of efficiencies that are changing. So we're doing our best to get our grip on this, and the better we understand it, of course, the more we'll pass that on to you. So basically what's going on is come January 1st, 2023, the minimum efficiencies on both residential and commercial product are going up, but they're going up in a different way. We're going to be dealing with EERs more than we're dealing with SEERs. And we're taking the EER, and instead of calculating EER at one standard, which was 95-degree outdoor ambient with an 80-degree indoor ambient, 67-degree wet bulb, we're going to be calculating EER at 4 different levels. And it's going to be called IEER, or some people are referring to it as SEER 2. But IEER is Integrated Energy Efficiency Ratio, and I'll show you a little bit about how that works. But when we're talking about the efficiencies, and yes, I have a cheat sheet because I can't remember all these numbers. Okay, on your straight pool equipment, you have your 6 through 10 ton, you've got your 11 through 20 ton, and then you've got your 20 ton and up. Okay, and your efficiencies on those are split up into package units and split systems. Okay, and you're looking at a IEER of 14.8 and 14.6. On your 11 through 20 ton, you're looking at 14.2 on the package units, 14 on the split, and on 20 SEER and up, they're looking at 13.2 and 13. Okay, those are straight pool. And then they have it broken down on the heat pumps. So same thing on the heat pumps. When we're dealing with 6 through 10, 11 through 20, and 20 and up. Okay, same thing. Doesn't matter if it's package or split on those, it's going to be a 14.1 IEER, a 13.5 IEER, and a 12.5 IEER. Okay, so remember now, this is an average of different EER ratings. So you know when you're looking at like a residential system that's got a SEER rating of 15, its EER rating is going to be lower than that, usually as low as 11, 12, maybe 13 EER on those. Okay, so when we're talking about even on the residential stuff hitting a 14 in this IEER, some of your 15 SEER systems from some manufacturers may not even hit that. Okay, so we're really talking about a jump from 14 SEER equipment up to possibly 16 SEER equipment on the residential side. And then on the commercial side, we're jumping from what was 11 and 12 EERs up to these 14 IEERs. Okay. Now, the way the IEERs are calculated, okay. So again, remember we had our 95-degree ambient that was pretty much standard in the industry for our rating. Okay. So that's what they're gonna test the first one at 100% load. Okay, 95-degree outdoor ambient, 100% load. Okay, then from there they drop down to a 81.5-degree outdoor ambient at 75% load. Okay, 50% load, 25% load. Okay, they go from here to 68-degree outdoor ambient and a 65-degree outdoor ambient. So obviously your inverter equipment, your multi-stage equipment, that's going to give you a higher overall average of EER, because they're not only testing these parameters, but they're weighting what each of these parameters are differently. So for example, when they're running that unit at 100% load at a 95-degree ambient, they're only giving that a 2% weighted value of the overall IEER rate. Okay, so what they're saying is based on national average temperatures or average temperatures in the south or the southeast, that only accounts for 2% of our average rating. So this is actually going to be weighted at 61.7%. Okay, your next category is going to be weighted at 23.8%, and the last category at 12.5%. Okay, so they'll calculate these formulas out. Let's say on a typical unit, this may work out to be like an 11 EER. When they calculate this out, this might be at a 13.9. Then we go to an 18.4 and then a 19.1. Okay. Then they multiply that times that, that times that, that times that, that times that, add it all up together, and you would end up on this unit with an IEER of 15.6. Okay. So again, 2% of 11, 61.7% of 13.9, 23.8% of 18.4, 12.5% of 19.1. Add those all up together, and that's your new IEER rating. Okay. So what does that mean for us? Big part of what that means is almost all your commercial equipment will more than likely be going with two-stage compressors and variable frequency drives come January 1st, 2023. Okay. On the residential side, right now, we're not going to be permitted a sell-through on existing equipment. So come January 1st, 2023, on the residential side, you will not be able to install equipment that doesn't meet these new energy efficiencies. On the commercial side, Tony, correct me if I'm wrong, but on the commercial side, we will be allowed to sell through existing inventory. Okay. But they won't be allowed to manufacture anything past January 1st, 2023 that does not meet these new IEER efficiencies. Okay. Yeah. And so if you're looking at our Ruud commercial lineup, we have 3 product offerings, 3 different tier levels. So we have a base level of commercial equipment that has a single stage scroll compressor, standard fan motors, non-variable frequency drives, just your plain Jane standard unit. Then our middle tier line is basically the same unit, but with a 2-stage compressor. And then our top tier line is the unit that has a 2-stage compressor, factory installed variable frequency drive, our most efficient product line out there. Come January 1st, 2023, those first 2 levels go away. They'll no longer be allowed to be produced. They'll no longer meet the minimum efficiencies. And when you're looking at like that 7.5 ton that we were just looking at, if you're looking at existing price jump from that unit to that unit, you're looking at 20 to 25% price increase. Okay. Now, as that elevated unit becomes the norm, that price may be coming down because of demand. But then again, with the prices increases we're seeing on metal, I'll tell you, it's come January 1st, 2023, a lot of your commercial customers are going to be in for a shock when you start quoting prices on commercial equipment. Okay. So any questions on this that I can try to answer?
No questions right now.
All right. I'll move out of the way if anybody wants to screenshot that to try to make heads or tails out of it. And if I may, when we email you after this webinar, I'll try to see if I can include a couple of links that will have a little bit better information on that. Okay. But the thing to keep in mind, efficiencies are going up January 1st, 2023. Okay. That's not that far away. Prices are going to be going up, which brings us to our next section. So let me erase some of this. All right. The 179 tax code. Okay, so the 179 tax code basically is your amortization of equipment purchased for a commercial building where the old tax code said that you had to amortize out the price of that over 3, 4, 5 years or lifetime of the equipment or what have you. The new Section 179 will allow a commercial business owner to write off the entire cost of a system on that year's taxes, even if they're only making payments on that equipment. So 2 things you're going to want to be looking into, and that is financing of commercial equipment and educating your commercial customers on the 179 tax code. You can go to, there's a website, section179.org, okay, which has a great calculator in there, explains it for 2020 and 2021. I'll try to go over it in a nutshell. Now listen, full disclaimer, okay, I am not an accountant, so I'm going to give you the general idea of what this means. This is what we would like for you to pass on to your customers in the commercial side, but of course, tell them they need to get with their own accountant to make sure of these different things. To make my math easy, we're going to say that you sold a commercial job to somebody for $100,000. Okay. Now, normally, and let's say you finance that, so maybe they're only paying, I don't know, $5,000 or $6,000 a month for that. Okay, the payment doesn't really matter. All right. But what they'll be allowed to do is, let's say that that company at the end of that particular tax year had at least $100,000 in profit, okay, that they would normally have to pay taxes on. All right. So they'll be able to deduct this from that, and assuming they're in a 21% tax bracket, okay, they would normally be paying $21,000 in taxes on that. But because they're able to reduce that by that $100,000, they will see that $21,000 tax break. Okay, so in a sense, they're actually getting this equipment at $79,000 instead of $100,000. So there's a definite tax break there. Okay, but like I said, that can be fully deducted in year 1. Doesn't have to, or in the year that it's purchased and installed is when that can be deducted. We use 2 different financing companies. We use Fernwood Capital for Ruud, and then we also use Keystone Horizon. Both of them have great calculators for this. You can go to either one of those websites and easily print out a quote to include with your commercial proposal. I highly recommend. The nice thing on both of those is there's no dealer fee to that. There is like $125, $150 processing fee that's only paid when you actually sign the contract. So to go and work up the quote, work up a sheet where you can plug in your actual price, show what the tax saving is for the Section 179 tax code, include that in your proposal. Okay, it's a much better way of offering your proposals. And if you're dealing with any of us on the Ruud side and you want a nice Ruud presentation put together for your commercial equipment, you can reach out to your HVAC consultant. We have some software that's called Rapid Spec, where we can give you a full proposal on the equipment that will show you all of the information that your engineer or your electrician would need. It's going to have your physical requirements for the unit. It's going to have all your min-max circuit breaker information. If we need to calculate outside air information, we can calculate that into there. All of your required specifications for however much outside air we need to bring in and what temperature you want to maintain the room. We can plug all that into there, give you a nice proposal. It's going to give you all the information about the equipment, everything you need, and then show you how to include this kind of information in that as well. Okay. All right. That's everything I have. Do we have any questions on that before we get started with our quiz questions?
I haven't seen any questions come through.
Okay.
Oh,
right.
Hold on, wait, there's one now. Can you repeat the website for the commercial tax code?
Yes. Section 179.org. Okay. Section 179.org.
And I can include that in the follow-up email too.
Yes. And then also, if you go to HVAC financing. Am I spelling that right? .com. Okay. You'll see there's a button on there that says 179 that you can click into there. I'll tell you that on their calculator, you need to actually download the calculator in order to use it. The one, when you click on that, the one on their website, for whatever reason, it won't take the numbers. But if you download it, it's a downloadable PDF that you can enter in the numbers to, and it'll calculate that for you. And then also at that same website, there's a button that says quote. And if you hit the quote button, all you have to do is enter in the amount of your job, your total job, not just the equipment, but the amount of your total job to your commercial customer, and enter in just a very minimal amount of customer information, hit a button, and it's going to give you a readout of what your estimated monthly payments would be for 2, 3, 4, or 5 years of financing. Okay. It's literally takes less than a minute to print that proposal out. So there's really no reason not to include a financing proposal when you're quoting your commercial customer. Anything else?
I don't see anything else.
All right. So I can't see the screen, so you're going to have to read the questions out. Everybody get ready with their chat windows. So most of these, I think all of them are true false questions, so it's going to be easy for you. Whenever
Okay,
you're ready,
so
Nicole.
Okay, everyone's got, I'm hoping you guys can all see my screen. If someone wants to go ahead and write in the chat that you could see my screen, that would be good.
I can see it.
Okay, perfect. All righty, so let's go ahead and get started. Question number 1, true, false. The industry first removable drain pan only allows for side draining.
I was just going to say, because remember, we can loop the PVC pipe around on the outside and do a bottom drain if you want to drain down in through the curb into the interior of the building.
Okay, so question number 2, true, false. Renaissance units feature internal gauge ports.
So yes,
Okay.
external gauge ports, they are recessed in the external of the cabinet with a lockable door, but they are external gauge ports that you can access, again, without having to remove. The nice thing about that is you can put your manifold set on there without having to remove the panel to access where the compressor is. So you're getting a true reading of what the system's doing with all the panels attached.
All right, question 3, all Renaissance models feature high and low pressure switches.
High and low pressure switches, they're connected with a plug. You don't have to use the plug, but if you ever need to replace it, you know, if you use the Ruud one, it'll come with the plug. If you don't, you'll have to cut and wire it yourself.
Okay, perfect. All right, so question number 4, true, false. A filter frame adapter must be used to convert from 2-inch filters and 4-inch filters.
So it's false. The filter rack is made to hold 2 or 4-inch filters. And another thing to note on there, thank you, Ruud, is they're all common size filters. Okay, they're going to be 16 by 16s. They're going to be 20 by 20s. They're all common size filters. They're not filters that are going to be 18 3/4 by 14.5 or some weird size like that. They're all commonly stocked, easily available filters, 2 or 4-inch. All right.
Okay. Yeah, is there any other questions?
If there's no other questions, that's going to wrap it up for today. We really appreciate you joining us. If you got any other questions on the Renaissance package unit line, if you have access to myruud.com and you go under product, you go all the way to the right, there's a commercial tab. In that commercial tab, there's several videos that are called 2-minute tech videos. The 2-minute tech videos will show you how to install the single point wiring kit, how to install the variable frequency drive, how to install the electric heat kit, how to add the building automation system board. So there's a whole bunch of little 2-minute videos in there that will show you all that. We're also going to include some videos in our after class response thing that's going to show you a similar walk around to what I did on the unit this morning. There was also a study. Oh, I forgot to bring that up. It was also a really cool study that was done, and it was the Michigan Institute of Aerospace Technology, where they have a really nice lab set up there that they train HVAC students. And what they did is they brought in one of our Renaissance package units along with other manufacturers' package units of equal size. And one of the exams that the students had to do was do a service on the system as well as doing a change out of major components. Okay. And it's a really neat time trial of how fast they were able to service this unit compared to others, and how fast they were able to replace major components and the easeability of it as compared to other 7.5 ton or package units that are out there. So we'll include a link to that video as well. Okay.